So we have a tier list here of Five Nights at Freddy's 1 all the way to Security Breach. And these are all the tiers. I should probably note that there is no script here. So, yeah, let's get on to this with Five Nights at Freddy's 1. I don't know where to put FNAF 1, if I'm being entirely honest. It's a great game. And it's got a great atmosphere and some of my favorite camera renders in the entire series, and Bonnie's horrifying, and the game overall has the best atmosphere of any game in the series. Custom Night's actually pretty fun to mess around with every once in a while. However, the gameplay is very simple and it gets pretty boring pretty fast. So, I'll give it a very high A tier for now. It would almost be S tier, but like I said, it does get pretty boring pretty fast, so that does dock some points. So now we're on to the prequel game, Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Quick side note, thank you for all the views I got on that FNAF 2 video, by the way. Anyways, I don't really know where I would put FNAF 2, for a lot of the same reasons I said in that video, but I also want to expand upon a point that I made in that video about the music box mechanic. The point in particular was about the music box mechanic and why I think it works in Phobia the Awakening and Flumpty's 3, but not Five Nights at Freddy's 2. In case you don't remember how the music box mechanics in those games work, allow me to tell you. The music box in Flumpty's 3 would be the temperature mechanic. If you let the temperature bar go to 0, then you would freeze over and you would be left vulnerable. The red man will be in the camera with the furnace. In order to heat up, you have to go to the furnace, but the red man will enter the furnace. Whenever he does enter the furnace, you cannot go to the furnace, or else that will result in a game over. The music box mechanic worked well in that game for two main reasons. One, it's a lot more forgiving than in FNAF 2, where everything is based off of luck. And two, even though that camera is still important, you still need to use other cameras around the map. And so because of that, the gameplay is not shallow, unlike in FNAF 2. And then the music box mechanic in Phobia the Awakening works like this. The puppet equivalent, Captain Feathersword, would be in a camera. If you don't look at Feathersword for long enough, then he would eventually leave the room. When he does this, you have to look for him on the camera. If you find him, just stare at him for a couple seconds, and then he goes back to his original room. If not, he would run at you and cause a jump scare and a game over. The music box works in Phobia because of the same reason for Flumpty's 3. You're not stuck on that one camera. You have to use the other cameras to look for the other animatronic. So, yeah, I guess I'll give it a B tier. I like it a little bit less than FNAF 1, but it's still a pretty good game. Okay, so FNAF 3. I'm giving FNAF 3 an S tier. If you were to ask me a year ago where I think FNAF 3 would go, I would say probably your D or E tier. So, yeah, as you could probably tell, I was not too big a fan of FNAF 3 when it came out. But I have to admit, it did grow on me a lot over the last time I played it, which was a couple months ago. I want to talk about the positives of FNAF 3. I love Fazbear's Fright as a location. I think that is a very cool and unique location for a Five Nights at Freddy's game. The minigames in FNAF 3 are a lot better than the minigames in FNAF 2. I love the way the Phantoms work in this game, with the exception of Phantom Fox. Seriously, fuck Phantom Foxy, I hate it. The ending music for the good and bad ending are masterpieces. Alright, let's get the elephant out of the room. Springtrap. Springtrap is one of, if not the best designs in the entire series. On the outside, at least. This thing looks fucking hideous, but everything about Springtrap's design is great. The tears in the suits, the plastered-on smile that never leaves, the half-shut eyelids giving the illusion that he's bored, the ugly, moldy green of the suit that's been left to rot for 30 years. I think the thing that makes Springtrap the most terrifying is how human he is. Every other animatronic in the series looks so lifeless, but with Springtrap, he actually acts like a person. Also, something I love is how Springtrap will hide in the cameras. Springtrap hiding in the cameras feels like a hunter stalking its prey. I have one more positive for Five Nights at Freddy's 3, that being fighting against Springtrap actually does feel like a chess game. Back when this game first came out, a lot of people did not like it because only one animatronic could kill you, which was a massive downgrade from both the first and second game. So let's talk about the negatives of Five Nights at Freddy's 3. Let's talk about the color scheme. I'm not a fan of the specific color they used. I think green is a good-looking color, but they use a very ugly shade of vomit green. The only thing I think looks good with a shade of green is Springtrap, but that's about it. I don't like the Phantom's design in this game, or Help Wanted VR. For the most part, the Phantom animatronics are pretty annoying. They do have some really cool stuff, like with Phantom Chica projecting that image on the arcade machine, for example. I hate the Phantom Puppet. It is so annoying. I want to talk about my least favorite thing about this game, though. How easy it is to trap Springtrap. So, in case you don't know, in FNAF 3, you're supposed to have Springtrap go away by playing an audio of Balloon Boy, who I guess in the universe is a kid, in a certain room that's connected to the room Springtrap is in. However, it is very easy, especially in Nightmare mode, to beat this game by trapping Springtrap in the corner. In order to trap Springtrap in the Cam 10, which is the best place to trap him, you have to draw him there. And once he's there, you just have to seal the vent connecting Cam 10 to your office. And you pretty much have to try to let him go away. At least that's how it was for me when I did Nightmare mode. But overall, it's still a really good game and possibly one of my new favorites in this series. Okay, so unlike FNAF 3, my opinions on this game have not changed. This game is an F tier. I actively hate FNAF 4. Let's go over the things I do like about FNAF 4, though. I kind of like the Nightmare designs. I think they have cool designs as a concept. But as a horror game, I feel as though they're too over-designed. I do like how this game does actually constantly make you feel like you are in danger. Foxy's possibly my favorite mechanic in Five Nights at Freddy's 4 because Foxy takes so long to get rid of that Nightmare Bonnie, Nightmare Chica, and Nightmare Freddy will most likely have progressed more and more towards your door. Okay, so I actually really love the gameplay loop of this game. This game is actually pretty fun whenever you have to juggle the breathing behind the door, flashing the Freddos off the bed, and checking on Foxy. Alright, that's everything I like about this game. Let's go over everything I don't like about this game. I don't like the Nightmare designs, as I've stated previously. Alright, so I don't like the way the game delivers the scares. In case you don't know, you have to listen to the animatronics breathing to know if they're behind the door. I think that's a fine enough concept by itself. However, I don't know if it's just me, but I never hear the breathing when they're at the door. As such, I had to use the map cheat, which doesn't make the game any fun. The minigames were also not that fun. I do not like the fun with plush traps section at all. I am not a fan of these minigames, with the exception of the Bite of 87. Okay, fine. One more positive that came from this game. We got the Bite of 87 meme. That's fantastic. Nightmare Ione, and Nightmare Fredbear, their nights are much, much easier than the base nights of this game. If you really want to play FNAF 4, then I would highly recommend the Halloween update. I prefer the new designs in that and the new characters in that, but outside of that, yeah, no, FNAF was an F tier. Fuck this game. So for FNAF World, it kind of depends on what version we're talking about. If we're talking about the version that was released on Steam for $10, then I would probably give that a C or E tier. But if we're talking about Update 2, then absolute S tier. I had always loved FNAF World post Update 2, although I don't really know if that's common, as a lot of people seem to either like it or really hate it. There are definitely flaws, and most of my love might just be from bias, but I love this game. It's a very good RPG. If you want my recommendations for more great RPGs, check out the Persona series by Atlas. Oh boy, Sister Location. This certainly is a hot take, but I don't like Sister Location. I like very little about Sister Location. I shared a lot of the same opinions as in his Fnaf Sister Location video, so go watch that. So Pizzeria Simulator is a game I'm very mixed on, because it has characters I like, such as Molten Freddy and Lefty, but at the same time, I'm not a big fan of the gameplay. I like the tycoon segments of the game, and I also like the salvage sections of the game. However, the night office sections, I don't like. They're so mind-numbing. They're so boring. I like the fact that they change it from, instead of having to survive until 6 a.m., you have to do all of your activities first. So I think C is the best place to put it. So let's talk about UCN now. So, Ultimate Custom Night. Where do I put Ultimate Custom Night? I think the best place to put it would be a C tier. It's not scary in the slightest, but it's not trying to be. The jump scares aren't that great, but it makes sense because Click Team couldn't handle 50 characters. I don't find Ultimate Custom Night to be that fun, if I'm being entirely honest. It's a pretty mid game, but not bad enough to be in D tier. Actually, never mind. Yeah, let's put it in D tier. I don't like FNAF AR that much. The game is boring and it's really hard to play. It doesn't look that great with the exception of a few renders, and weirdly enough has some pretty good jump scares. FNAF AR also has some pretty cool skins too. However, that's really about it. The only substance are the skins and other superficial things. However, that doesn't make the game good. So yeah, the gameplay also just basically boils down to spin around. That's not even going into the fact that Illumix is a soulless, greedy, and possibly terrible studio to work at from a glass door, I believe the website is called. A review on that website about how horrible it was there. If you want to get a version of FNAF AR that's good and filled with love and passion from the developers, then get FNAF AR Forsaken on GameJolt. Okay, so FNAF VR Help Wanted. I love this game. It's possibly the scariest game in the series I think the main thing that scares me about this game for the most part is the fact that I'm so used to these characters not having an actual animation with the exception of a few. Now they're suddenly walking around and they're pretty human-like. Although there is one problem in my opinion. A lot of the models in this game don't look very good, especially Springtrap and the Phantoms. But outside of that, I really love Help Wanted. I did not get around to playing the DLC though. And finally, we have the newest game in the Five Nights at Freddy's series, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. This game is very mixed, and I like it a lot. I really like Gregory and Glamrock Freddy and Montgomery Gator, and I love the 80s aesthetic, even though I think it does subtract from the horror a little bit. The only thing I don't really like is Burntrap. I like Burntrap's design, but he should not have been in this game. So, yeah, the video's over. Go check out my Instagram, and if you liked, subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. I'll see you next time.